Hi, everybody. Welcome to the NoMo Survivor Series.
I thought I wanted to save us, but I was stuck in the past. Messed me up, I wanted to hurt. Just give me something that lasts. You say yes, and you don't make waves. I don't need to say that you know that I'll try, and I don't wanna hide away some other life.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the No More Heroin Survivor Series. The Survivor Series is an original product of No More Heroin, and we showcase inspirational testimonies of people who have overcome seemingly insurmountable odds to have and live a life of purpose and destiny. And tonight is no exception. I'm going to let the audience build before I introduce my guest. I hope you will enjoy this music video by my dear friend, Joe Nestor Nation. The song is called How Many Times. I'd like to welcome all of our viewers on Facebook and YouTube, the No More Heroin Survivor Series YouTube channel. Please take the time to share this out and chime in the comments.
What's up? Okay.
Hold on. Let's go. Please share, family.
Oh.
Choked, didn't you?
We froze.
I won't hear no sound anyways.
I apologize about that. The broadcast froze on that. Sorry, guys. Can you all hear me now?
I hear you loud and clear myself.
But I
don't know about anybody else.
I can hear it as well. I want to start out this broadcast sharing this video from you that I just think it's such a powerful statement. If my broadcasting platform, the internet, will work with me. Come on. Where did you go? The internet is overworked currently.
Well, everybody's zooming right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's zooming. Everybody's doing their live feed. There's multiple live feeds going on at the same time. Well, it doesn't look like that's going to work out for me, John, but I'd like everyone to welcome my guest tonight, John Shinholser. He's the co-founder and president of the McShin Foundation in Richmond, Virginia. He's a staunch advocate for recovery. He's got coming up on 38 years sobriety.
Yeah, we're getting there.
He is really, really a powerful voice in the peer recovery, peer support community, and through his foundation, through his advocacy. And he's got some very interesting thoughts and topics he's going to speak about tonight. So I'm going to give John the floor. Please, John, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show tonight, Higgy. It's always an honor to be on these shows and whatnot. You know, briefly, I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorders. For me, that means I've been clean and sober almost 38 years, and which gives me a foundation for what I like to call, I got a whole lot of institutional knowledge. And, you know, I got clean at 23 years old while I was in the Marine Corps. And I was one of those guys, you know, I was borderline derelict when I got here. And by the time I was 23, I'd been arrested 12 times, 4 times in foreign countries. And I kept screwing up while in the Marine Corps. And finally, my colonel, you know, I got in trouble once again. And he gave me one of two choices. He said, Marine, you can either go to the brig or you can go to rehab. Now, the two things I knew about the brig.
Thank you for your service, John.
Oh, hoorah. But in the brig, I knew the food was going to suck and the women were going to be fake. So I went to rehab. And that's when I found out about I wasn't a bad person trying to get good. I had an illness I could recover from. But, you know, back in 1982 in America, if anybody wanted to go to rehab, they could probably get into rehab within an hour. You know, our systems were that good back then. You know, back in those days, they had a lot of good charity out there. They had, you know, if you had insurance, they had great treatment. You know, America was on the move with recovery and treatment back in 1982. And then what happened along the way when those HMOs stopped reimbursement for treatment, basically America lost their, you know, a lot of their quality treatment, but they lost their voice in recovery too, because a lot of the advocates back in those days were aligned with treatment of some kind. So all within a 10-year period, we lost a large portion of our infrastructure. And at the same time, the crack epidemic, you know, spiked. And then at the same time, you know, since Nixon did that war on drugs things, every year thereafter, they threw a lot more money at interdiction and incarceration. They built up the criminal justice system. Well, you know, for like 30 years there, or 25 years, I'm just plugging away, being a useful, productive member of the community, creating, you know, I had a great contracting business. I'm going to meetings all the time. I'm just not paying much attention to the downfall and the collapse and the uptick in the stigma associated with addiction. So around 2000, you know, I got heavily involved with the advocacy, trying to get, you know, resources to our community service providers, you know, and then I met a woman who later became my wife. Carol McDade is also the co-founder of McShin, and she happened to slip in the meeting tonight, so she's actually sitting with me on the end of the couch. So,
hi, Carol.
Hi, how are you?
So you might say I got to clean this up a little bit. You know, I was hoping to go a little more unplugged. There she is.
I can leave if you want to go unplugged.
No, you can stay. Goddamn, Tim brought his old lady on the show the other night. I can have my wife here. So.
That's right. Absolutely.
And I'm quite sure if I miss a point here, she'll be right here to remind me on what I missed. But I think the big thing is I've been around a long time. I've always helped newcomers. I was a hope dealer before I even knew that's what I was called. I just thought I was helping newcomers carrying the message. But when we started McShin back in 2004, we noticed that all these people were getting sucked into the criminal justice system. And to try to find, you know, consistent, decent, rapidly available services was basically non-existent unless you had money. And that's where the problem comes in. So here we are, you know, we started McShin in a 56 square foot office. You know, we're in a 15,000 square foot recovery center now. You know, we didn't have any money or any funding or any budget when we started. Now we're a multi-million-dollar a year, you know, recovery community organization. You know, we got over 120 beds. We're in multiple jails doing programs inside corrections and jails. And we do advocacy at the local level, the state level, the federal level. I mean, so me and my wife, we've been on the front lines 20 years, and she's 10 years before me up in Washington doing the policy work. So over a period of time, you realize what the fuck is going on here, you know? How in the hell can we be in 2020? We have all this scientific evidence that this is a mental illness that is treatable. We have some of the best doctors and scientists in America saying, hey, look, this is a mental illness. This is very treatable, and this is how you do it. And our country probably does it about the worst way they can do it. You couldn't have a more fucked up system than what we got in America right now and how you deal with addicts. And to try to change that, change those policies, get funding where it can do the most good, it's like every day I'm talking to a bunch of people offering them a free root canal. You know, they treat you like you don't know shit. And you know, it's time for the recovering community to step up a little bit and make some changes. Now,
I agree.
I think what kind of inspired you the other day was you saw a little video I put out on the coronavirus and how we're in the middle of a national crisis right now. And I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to find a more patriotic, civic-minded recovery person than me. You know, it seems, you know, every day we got a new paint by numbers on how to act and how to be, social distance, being very mindful, stay put, stay in your house, only go out for essential services. And I get it, and I'm all in. And the last thing I want to do is hinder the efforts of anybody out there doing their job during this national epidemic.
Absolutely.
Of course, we still running a frontline, first responder, newcomer organization. So we are a very essential organization to have in our communities right now. We got a guy in today, got out of jail today. He's still shitting Riverside Chow right now, you know. So, you know, every day we're taking in newcomers that need help. You know, we're not turning them down. We're just doing it different now, how we handle them.
That's right. You have to have safeguards in place, you know, bringing somebody in from the outside.
But, you know, I was watching those news stories. I'm watching Governor Cuomo, got to get his name straight here, and President Trump and all the other people talking on TV about this epidemic and how to deal with it, what the experts say, what the scientists say. And I noticed, like, overnight, rightfully so, they changed policies. They came up with a lot of money. They got the right people involved. And I'm thinking, why in the fuck can't they do that for the addiction epidemic? It's been around for 30 years, you know? And then they talk about the, what is it, the curve we're looking for?
Trying to flatten the curve.
Look, man, God bless them. I'm doing my part. I want that flat line as much as anybody. You know, me and my wife have suffered dearly during the economic, you know, our goddamn 401k down to about a 1.2 now, you know? So, you know, we taking a big hit like anybody on this. You know, we're just as fearful as anybody. But it got me thinking, why don't they fucking try to get a flat line in the addiction opiate or the goddamn addiction curve? You know what I mean? That curve is sky high. And it's like nobody wants to flatten it out, you know?
Right.
But I know we do. You know, the recovering people need to do that. So
the video that I can hear my voice.
Okay.
Is that Carol's phone?
No, you got your dog phone ringing.
The video that you put out was addressed to President Trump. You know, you were commending him on, you know, allocating funds to fight this virus, and they're doing this by any means necessary. And you made the very valid point that we could use those same terms to address our addiction issue, the opioid epidemic as well.
Well, they got the model. They got a model on how to deal with the national epidemic, how to flatten the curve, you know, how to get to where we should be. And, you know, there's some good examples out there. You know, if you look around, what's other countries doing? Portugal. They went in 2001, they basically decriminalized user amounts of drugs, meaning if you had a 10-day supply or less, then you wouldn't be arrested, for distribution or whatever. And if you got caught again with the 10-day supply or less, then they might write you a ticket or a warning. And then maybe the third time they'll say, okay, we're going to have to go turn you into a dissuasion committee where you go and talk to a healthcare professor and they do a little assessment on you. And that's the point where things really get good. 1 out of 10 people that goes in front of a dissuasion committee, they go into some kind of service. They treat this thing like a medical problem, not a criminal problem. Right. But if you're breaking the law, if you commit another crime besides using, then you got to, they'll deal with that.
You got to answer for that. But we can't arrest our way out of this problem.
Oh, the fuck we can. Every goddamn year, these Department of Corrections get more money, and these sheriff officers get more money, and the police get more money. So apparently you can arrest your way out. They just don't know that because they trying like hell to continue to do what they always do. Now, they say they can't arrest their way out of it, and I know they can't arrest their way out of it, but it ain't really sank into these folks yet because our systems seem to be getting bigger. Or, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good people out there, a lot of good public safety folks out there, but there ain't enough of them to make a real difference.
It's about making money for them, though. The recidivism, the recycling of people sending them back, just all these.
Yeah, all you got to do is just goddamn invest your money in stocks on Wall Street that cater to the industrial prison complex, and you're probably going to make plenty of money. There's a guy named Mr. Burko put a report out a few years ago, back in 2007. I got some paper with me too, by the way. He said crime definitely pays. He said, and then here's where some of the stigma plays in. He was talking about GEO, one of the biggest and best in the business. GEO. I said GEO. My wife is next to me trying to correct me. But they said they're in the business and they're housing perverts, mobsters, felons, thugs, and plug ugliers cheaper than anybody else. Now, our local sheriff did a survey on who's in his jail a few months back. And up to 90% of his population is there because of addiction in one form or another. So people that know they're stigmatized in the illness, people got to deal with it. They know they're dealing with addicts. Addicts is a mental illness. It's very treatable. And then that same guy, Burko, went on to say that if you reduce recidivism, if you reduce our correction about 50%, it'll throw our nation into a depression. And, anybody can Google that report. But he said, imagine the tens of thousands of people who would be unemployed if crime were to disappear. Drug Enforcement Administration, FBI folks, parole officers, deputies, sheriff, cops, correction officers, judges, lawyers would be out of work and searching the classified for a job. Property and casualty companies would lose billions of dollars in premium incomes, and companies that make riot guns, handcuffs, mace, bulletproof vests, helmets, other law enforcement equipment might go bankrupt. And some knowledgeable folks really believe that criminal activity is covertly encouraged by a cabal of cops, DEA people, lawyers, and others whose incomes are made possible by the criminal activity. I mean, it's like you ain't got to be a conspirator to know that we got forces working against recovery in America right now. And I spoke about the science earlier, and Dr. DuPont, one of our nation's leading experts in the field, he's worked for I think 14 14 head of drug enforcement agencies, like 10 drug czars, 6 or 7, 8 presidents, and he said that the solution to most of our problem with addiction is the recovering community. And if you look to the recovering folks, there lies a big portion of the solution.
Yes.
So, and then we're spending, I think improper mitigated substance use disorders in America cost about $1 trillion a year when you add it all up. So we're blowing a ton of money on a curve that was created by poor policy and short thinking. We got the knowledge to flatten the curve. We have existing systems that have done a marvelous job, such as Portugal. Speaking of Portugal, remember, last time I remember correctly, America's in an opioid crisis situation.
That's
bad
right.
Bad enough we got the addiction epidemic, but we get spikes. Crack was a spike, volumes were a spike, candy beer was a spike, meth was a spike. Now the opioid spike. The opioid spike in 1991, Portugal had 369 deaths because of their new policies they created. In 2016, they had 30 deaths. You see the difference in that? The number of people incarcerated for drug offenses in 1999 was 3,863. 27 is 1,140.
Wow.
Now, I mean, people watching while you have the next couple months off, you're trying to wonder what to do with your spare time, get educated. See what these other countries have done. See where we're going wrong. And our agencies are so screwed up right now. I mean, it's almost impossible to try to get some common sense policies and try to get some of this funding to where it can do the most good. And we keep doing the same stuff over and over in these agencies too. So they're a big part of the problem. We recently, I don't know if you realize it or not, Higgy, but recently we had a state opioid response. A lot of money came out of Washington to go down to states. And the own inspector general put out a report saying how screwed up that was. Like all this money they sent down to the states for state opioid responses, hell, a third of it ain't even been spent yet.
Wow.
And then how much of that really went to the recovering community? And let me tell you about the recovering community in case you don't know. We collect data, okay? We are evidence-based practice, data-driven, evidence-based. Using the authentic recovery support service provider model, there is a greater than 40% reduction in the impact addiction has in our community. Over a 40% reduction. That is huge. That's 40% less overdoses, 40% less emergency room visits, 40% less incarceration, pretty much across the board. So how in the hell can you have the science, the money, the knowledge, and the systems and not want to flatten that curve because of stigma?
Yes.
Money, of course, is money, but the stigma drives the money. And, the Portugal flip, that needs to be, everybody in America needs to know that sentence and understand what that means. That's a starting point. I'm not saying Portugal got the perfect model, but it's got one of the best ones I've ever seen. And you combine the Portugal flip with the other knowledge that we have here. America, United States, we could have the best recovery system in the world. However, in order to get there, we need willingness on policymakers, politicians, and bureaucrats. And the only way that's going to happen, we got to get the recovering community engaged, energized at a greater level than ever before. We got to quit throwing each other under the bus every time we get a good movement going. Every time we get to the top of the pyramid, man, we gotta stop hurting each other, taking kickbacks and bribes at those high levels. So we definitely got some issues, man.
Absolutely. I'm typing out comments. I heard everything you said. It's such a corrupt system, and it's failing us. It's failing us all the way around.
Well, the system is definitely rigged. I mean,
sure.
not only is it rigged, but they rigged a bad system. It's not even a good system. That's the aggravating part.
Yes, I mean they don't want to change it. It's creating revenue, it's creating jobs, but it's not serving the recovery community by any means.
But not only that, they're using our kids as bait. You know what I mean?
The next generation.
They knowingly and willingly are throwing away hundreds of thousands of Americans every year in prisons and dying prematurely because they will not implement a smarter, more effective policy for less money. And that's the disgraceful part. If I went to Trump right now and said, hey, I got a 40% solution for the coronavirus, they fucking probably take me out dancing if I were to do that. You know what I mean? But when it comes to addiction, because of the stigma, they tell you, get the hell away. Are you kidding? We can't have you cutting into these existing systems of care.
So what's the answer, John? Well, I mean, where do we even start with this?
Well, I think the starting point is definitely come together. We got to start aligning ourselves in an orderly fashion. We got to agree that we're going to stay unified on this, and we're not going to get splintered by outside influences every time we get going. People in recovery need to get off their ass and start writing editorials every time they got to read the goddamn paper too, okay? They got to get off that fucking Pornhub and shit, start reading the goddamn paper, and they got to start making comments on these stories. When they see a news broadcast, they got to go online, make an editorial comment, put their 2 cent worth in, because if people don't hear from us, the media or the politicians, they got no reason to change. So use your voice. God damn it. We live in America, man. We got the right to petition our government. We got freedom of press. We got to use that. We're taking that shit for granted, and it's kicking us in the ass. So speak up, speak loud and proud. Every time there's a table available that's making a policy, you make sure you're there. Nothing about us without us. Because every goddamn time that people come to the table, we're the fucking menu item. And we got to stop that shit.
So how do we pick and choose which news articles to respond to? I mean, there's so much, bullshit out there. How do you know what's the truth?
Well, goddamn it, you got common sense. Use it. That these politicians lost it, man. But every day in America, there's a news story about addiction, recovery, substance use disorders, MAT, what's right, what's wrong. Well, the people in recovery, God damn it, they should be getting their answers from us. We should be heavily influenced what policies are and aren't. My wife is sitting here chomping at the bit. You want to say something?
I would like to ask Carol, how does someone get involved with lobbying to actually make a change?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, first of all, it doesn't have to be lobbying necessarily. It can be advocacy. It can be education. And I'm a big believer in growing where you're planted. In other words, a lot of times people ask me, oh, I want to come to Washington with you and I want to hit the halls of Congress. And that's great. And there's a time and a place for that. But I'm a big believer, if you don't know who your 2 state representatives and who your member of Congress and who your senators are, you are not an informed, civic-minded member of the recovery community. And so I think the first thing to do is educate yourself about who makes policy decisions where you are planted right now. And I would go in and I would remember, you paid their salaries. They work for you. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do.
That's right.
That office that they're sitting in, your tax dollars are paying for. Okay. And John said it very clearly. Our Second Amendment guarantees us the right to petition our government. If we don't do it, we get the policies we deserve.
Yeah, who's fucking doing all the petitioning? The Criminal Justice Service and the goddamn people making money off of addiction. They call all the shots right now.
And the pharmaceutical industry and the health insurance industry and for-profit prison industry. And we can go on and on. And I don't have to be negative, but I think the issue is know who your people are. They all have local caseworkers. Go in and introduce themselves and ask them, do you have a task force on addiction or on the opiate epidemic, depending on what state or country you live in? Because I would like to be on it and see what they say. I'd like to serve. I would like to serve.
Yeah, you got the nice one there. I ain't as nice as she is. We've been doing that for 20 goddamn years, man. We got nowhere so far. All we getting is money for other agencies and other people who are pissing it away like drunken sailors on Liberty Call, man. It's disgusting to watch the continuation of just poor policies, poor outcomes. Do you realize for 30 years?
Well, $2 billion worth of money that we got on the naloxone is not nothing. It kept a lot of people alive. So
I stand corrected on a few things here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
For sure.
all I know is Virginia got $43 million to try to help this epidemic. And, you know, agencies like ours, you know, we get shit on by these motherfuckers. And I'm tired of it, man. I mean, I've been producing outcome, no thanks to these folks. And it's just, you know, something's got to give, man.
Absolutely. Lisa Madison says, the McShin Foundation saved my life. I struggled with addiction for 30 plus years. Since being in this RCO, I've learned how to live a new way without drugs or alcohol. Listen to these two people. Congratulations, Lisa.
Now, out of fairness, all right, you know, I sound like I'm all hard ass on agencies and politicians and spending, but out of fairness, Lisa, she got clean in the jail program that was SAMHSA funded. So there's evidence and proof that some of our government funding goes to good use, you know, helping us crank out some good results. So SAMHSA is our federal agency that gives out grants to folks like us. So, you know, we crack. And then I tell you what, I think I only got that because of a YouTube I put out there one day challenging President Trump to get off his ass and do something. Next thing I know, I got a SAMHSA grant. So big shout out to him on that. So
Todd Widows, in 2019, 73% of McShin alumni had not been arrested since leaving the McShin Foundation. Data reflects alumni that had previous arrest records before entering McShin. How you doing, Todd? I love you, bro.
Well,
that's one of your video guys.
Yeah. We'll give him a few more years on the street, but that rate will go down. But I tell you what, 40% seems to be the hold line right there. You know, the Portugal flip, that's the battle cry, you know. Why do we keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results? Because somebody's enriching themselves at our expense, and that's got to stop.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's so corrupt, so dysfunctional. It doesn't serve any purpose but to put more money into corruption. It's just a
rich system, man. It's a rich
system. It hurts my head, John. I just want to. I want to do something proactively. I want to do something to, you know, make a difference in this. You know, and having a nonprofit myself. I mean, I'm in the infancy stages, so I'm learning from you. And there's other people in the comments that are going to watch us as well that want to do something for their communities. Do you have any suggestions for someone that's just starting out, wanting to put a nonprofit in place?
Well, I think we probably, most communities got enough nonprofits, I would dare say. Align yourself, find the ones that are doing the kind of work you'd like to see done. They're probably there. If they're not, then yeah, start one. They're really easy to do. You just got to be willing to put the time and the effort into it, because it ain't easy. You know, we started with nothing, you know, ground up. And, you know, here we are cranking out great results. But, you know, that's a God thing, man. You know, that really wasn't our thing. You know, we put the work in, God delivered the outcome, and we're grateful for that. But as a nation, we continue to be like sheep going to the slaughter. We continue to listen to the same policymakers with the same rhetoric, giving the same people the same money, getting the same outcome. We ain't found our peak yet. You know, we up in the curve, man, you know, the top there. And it's time to flatten the curve out. And the only way we're going to flatten the curve is to put the best players into the game, get them off of the bench, get them in the game. You know, if your kid needed help, you want to send them to a fucking social worker or somebody got 30 years clean, you know? Somebody that can actually show them how to do this thing, not talk about it. Now, I ain't knocking social workers. Right. I just did, but I really
Right. I just did, but I'm really not.
Right.
Well, Big Dave Wheeler from Wyoming wanted me to say hi to you for him.
Oh, Big D, man, my man. I'm out there in Wyoming from Virginia, and he said, hey, you know, Iggy and all those guys, man. I said, son of a bitch, it's a small world, man.
Yeah, it is. He was out in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming.
Man, bumfuck Wyoming, man. I'll tell you what, but it's a beautiful state, man. You know, I've been to 40 different states speaking in correctional facilities. Wyoming was my 40th state. And I had Arkansas lined up, but the coronavirus kind of stopped all my travel for a while. So
nice.
So
what were you doing out in Wyoming?
Speaking in like prison.
You have a like a prison tour going on, right?
I'm a hope dealer. Where's the most newcomers that want to hear a message of hope? They're in a goddamn correctional facility.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing we need to change. We need to start humanizing these people's experience inside a correctional facility. The ones that suffer from mental illness, substance use disorders, you got to humanize the experience. You get a much better outcome. You can actually stop them from coming back. But if you just emotionally beat them to death and torture them while they're in there, of course they're going to come out a worse animal than they went in. I mean, this is common sense shit. This is what they figured out in Portugal.
The Portugal flip. Yeah, you're absolutely right. People that are incarcerated need to know that they can live a better life than what they've been living. You know, they don't have to return to prison.
Yeah, but you can't just tell them. You got to go in there and show them, man, that learned experience. One addict helping another. There's no substitute for that concept.
Without parallel.
Exactly. And you got to give them the goddamn reentry resources too. You know, you can't go in there and talk all that good shit and not give them a safe place to go when they get out. And it's very inexpensive. And you don't have to scale up a bunch of treatment center professionals to do that. You got to scale up the authentic recovery community support service providers and stop bureaucratizing the process.
So your organization is solely peer driven, right?
I have 31 employees up until the coronavirus, and every single one of us was in recovery. Now I had to lay off 15 employees the last couple of weeks, you know, so. But we got 16 people right now. We're all in recovery. We're in our own pathway of recovery. We demonstrate the multiple pathways to recovery. You know, we love all the pathways, you know, especially the ones where we get the peers in those pathways turning around and helping each other. So, I mean, we're a clever little organization, you know. We don't have much use for anybody that really ain't in a recovery pathway of some kind, because that's what we do.
That's amazing. Do you have a reentry program?
Well, we've been doing fucking reentry for 20 years, man. I mean, I didn't know what you call it. Shit. You get out of jail, you re-enter into the community, come to the organization. We give you a safe place to be. We give you a vision, a hope, and the pathway forward and how to accomplish it. I said I got 122 recovery beds.
No.
We took a guy. We got a guy from jail today. We got one yesterday and one the day before. So I would call that fucking reentry.
That's right. That's right. And you know, having the tools and the resources at your disposal is just a powerful piece of the puzzle. I would like to be able to, you know, work with you and sending people from the No More Heroin family and community to your organization. And
we do have a payer mix program that we sell that covers all the indigent scholarship and charity work we do. But you think about it, Higgy, how many times have you been to a meeting and somebody's in that meeting, you know, if you gave them the right help at the right time, they would probably get another day clean and stay motivated and stay in the
whole point. Yes, sir.
You know, I can go to a meeting any night of the week, and if somebody really needs help, goddamn it, I got a place for them, you know. And that's a good place to be, man. That's a good place you want to be in your recovery.
Yes, when we were talking on the phone earlier, you said I was just talking to that newcomer. Nobody could get through to him. All he needed to do was talk to somebody with some recovery under their belt.
And you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we should have the best treatment center in the world right now. I mean, America. You know, we should have the best systems. And there's a lot of will and a lot of heart out there to have the best systems, but unfortunately, we don't have the willingness at the policy makers level. That's where we really need to attack and get them folks willing to make the necessary changes. You know, we've done a poor job inspiring and instilling in the policymakers how you get a genuine desire in a politician's heart to really want to help you. You know, we just done a poor job there.
Yes.
And we got to do better with that.
And when we became a constituency of consequence, all of a sudden, and money started to flow, then we all started attacking each other.
Yeah,
right. That's a huge problem in the recovery community. There's no very little semblance of unity. You know, everybody's got their own.
But John and I know, because we have lived through a time when we were unified. And when we were unified, when we are unified, we are successful.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a cousin Bob video I'll put on my Facebook page after this broadcast, and people
Okay.
want to know a little more about. Well, I like to do these little short comical videos to get your attention. But we got a lot of cousin Bob's running around out there fucking each other over, and that shit got to stop.
Yes, I agree. 1,000%.
I mean, how many times has a great hope dealer made a goddamn simple mistake, then 100 people want to kill the motherfucker? That's bullshit.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Tear them down to the ground. Absolutely.
Yeah, like
to make
George,
them.
Yeah, George Patton, you know what I mean? He made a few mistakes, but goddamn, he can win battles, man. We got
That's
a lot
right.
of Pattons out there. We got to get them in the battle.
That's right. You know.
My wife hates it when I do war analogies to the recovering battle.
It's applicable though to me, I think.
Yes,
And we're both military veterans. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you for yours.
What were you in?
Thank you. I was U.S. Navy.
Holy shit! You
Twin.
to keep me warm at night on cold nights out at sea, man. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Just fucking kidding. You cut the goddamn heat off in the ship, man. You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
flood our toilets and shit, man.
Well, you guys come in with your guns at general quarters and made us hit the deck and make us stay there for extremely long. And
Hey,
you know, there's a lot of back and forth, but you know,
it's all good.
In hard times, man, we got each other's backs, you know, and it's a brotherhood all its own, you know. No veterans left behind.
Yeah, I do want to give a good shout out though to the recovering community across America right now, you know, because you know you got to realize overnight, tens of thousands of social connective meetings had to go Zoom connection, you know, social distancing, and I think the recovering community has done a fabulous job. You know, improvising, overcoming, and adapting to this crisis. So there's a lot of pride there. And then I also said, shit, the rest of the world can probably learn from the recovering people because, hell, we've been living a day at a time our whole life. Never knew if we were going to live or die that day. So we really got a lot of learned experience we can actually demonstrate to the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
Just got to get them fuckers quit with the goddamn hugging and shaking hands and shit, you know. Stay home, stay quarantined, goddammit.
Yeah, please, because it's not going to go away anytime soon. And if we don't adhere to these guidelines and do our part, it's going to continue, and the death tolls are going to rise. I mean, there's some major consequences to, you know, rebelling against what the guidelines are that are put in place.
Yeah, but I think when this all blows clear, you know, they're going to see the recovery community. They did their part, man. You know, they were very civic minded. They did it right. You know, they weren't the problem. They were actually part of the solution. Now, of course, that don't go for the newcomer population still running around trying to score right now. They ain't got a clue what the fuck is going on. But we're working on that.
Are you guys implementing virtual therapy or anything like that, to teletherapy?
Yeah, best we can. We got 10 houses basically quarantining in place, you know, stay at home. And we do the Zoom meetings at the houses and on their phones and shit. But you know, some of them newcomers ain't got a phone, they don't have a tablet. So it's kind of difficult for some of them. And because we monitor medication and we do a lot of urine samples, we're still going to do that, you know.
Sure. So, well, what are your suggestions for people in early recovery that are in this situation and have high anxiety? You know, just being disconnected from their physical support system.
Man, I tell you, they really got to somehow chase their recovery a little bit better. You know, and they got to try to reach out to anybody with some recovery under their belt and just listen to those people. You know, and that's going to be a growing problem. You're going to see a lot of relapse. You're going to see, you know, a lot more suicide, a lot more depression. You know,
that's so tragic, so tragic.
And there's not going to be enough capacity, mental health capacity. You know, enough professionals to help with those traumas and those mental health issues. So we're going to have a shortage here. You know, coming up.
So
I think.
Go ahead, Carol.
Who need phone numbers and social connectedness, should ask for that when they're on a Zoom meeting. And there's some great ones, whether it's a 12-step, young people in recovery, in the rooms, shows like yours. There's lots of resources out there. And just don't be scared to ask for help and ask for numbers, just like you would if you were face to face at a meeting. I mean, I feel tighter with some of my sponsees since this has happened, because we're staying in touch more.
Absolutely.
They're using me more.
Hey, you got a little Marsha Morrison asked me if I've been to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been to Oklahoma yet, Marsha. So you hit me up, private message, and we'll work Oklahoma. And yeah, I don't think I've been there. I got to check.
John and Carol are joining us from Richmond, Virginia. A couple of people asked where you're from. I'm in Boynton Beach, Florida. I'm originally from Ohio. No More Heroin is licensed in the state of Ohio. I love my Ohio family.
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing for your folks. You ask what can we do. There's a big push nationwide for recovery residences, people to start sober home recovery residences. And I'm not talking the ones that are fucking involved with insurance companies and ripping people off and patient brokering. I'm talking about recovering people that got a good heart. They got the means to get out there and do something like that. They got a pretty good organization, National Alliance of Recovery Residents, is putting some good guidelines out there. And I know Florida's had some problems, but when I travel all over the country, I see a great need for recovery residences. And that's a good place to inspire new folks to get involved and try to help and give back, especially women with children and stuff like that, men with children, So there's a ton of work to be done out there. Trying to keep my wife in the frame too,
Well, I don't
Terry Lovin says, bring he up to Richmond, Virginia. I would love to be up there. I
love Terry, man. Terry's got a great voice, man, a good advocate.
Yes.
And she's right, though. We need to do an event here in Richmond and bring a bunch of you guys in. We'll do a big care talk one night and put you guys up on stage and y'all can let it rip. We can broadcast it live on Facebook and shit, man. And
absolutely. Stacy Burns in the house.
Oh, Stacy. God damn it, Stacy. You almost made me look good with your mouth. I
knew you were going to say that. That's hilarious. Real, raw, truthful conversation. That's what we're looking for.
Well, you got to keep it real, man. This is a different audience. When I'm out in public, not that this ain't public or not, you got to clean your language up a little bit. But this was kind of excited me tonight. I didn't want to fucking watch what I'm saying here. This is bullshit. People are dying, man.
I put it out there as John Shinholser, uncensored.
Well, I might lose. Who fucking knows what'll happen? But we got to make change, Higgy. We got to get off our butts and make change. And I'm telling you, the whole recovering community nationwide, they got a lot of time on their hands. So now's the time to get educated, get smart, figure out how to make that change. Let's get that Portugal flip going, man. Why ain't we copying Portugal?
You use your time, wisely. The best way to combat depression is by physical activity. Besides medication and stuff like that. Get your body moving, no matter what. How many times do we have to force ourselves to get out of bed? We're early in recovery, we're still recovering from the run we were on or whatever, and the toll the drugs and the lifestyle took on our body. We had to force ourselves to do that. We had to push. We can do that through this time too. We have it within us to fight for our lives, to be creative, and get the knowledge that we need to keep our mind occupied and not really obsess about the future, because all we have is right here, right now. And there's where God's going to provide a way for us to get through this, because for this country is made up of heroes. We've been through two world wars. We've been attacked. The Twin Towers came down. They attacked our country. There's been a Korean War, a Vietnam War. There's been a war on drugs. Well, it's a war on recovering people, but we have overcome so many things that I truly believe that there's a hero within all of us. We just have to dig deep and find it. You know, we and us fighting for our lives and being that role model, like you talked about. You know, we have to show people, not just tell them. Be that role model, because you never know who's watching you and drawing inspiration from you.
You know, down deep down inside, and all these newcomers is a hope dealer trying to get out. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
And we get all these hope dealers on the street, get them out in the community. We can change this thing. Okay. It's really simple, you know, but you got to get engaged. You got to get involved. And you're right. Recovery is spiritual, mental, physical. You got to have mindfulness in the mix. You know, I get it, you know, but Jesus Christ, if we don't go out here and do the work, who's going to do it for us? Who's looking after the recovering people? You know, I said it earlier. You know,
other recovering people.
That's it. It's up to us to look after
our peers.
Yes.
We have to.
Yes.
We have to. Otherwise, we get the recovery policy we deserve.
There you go. You know, why do we keep getting, you know, low man on the pole? You know, when we're 40% of the solution, yet we don't get to drive policies and we don't get funding, something's wrong with that. You know, the proof's in the pudding, man.
So
some states are doing better. They've reduced their overdose death rate. Some states
keep talking
are unified. Some of the recovery community has stepped up. Rhode Island is one that comes to mind that's done a really good job of staying unified, shaping policies. You know, somebody in recovery was the chief of staff to the governor and helped drive that. So never lose sight of the fact that one person can make a difference, but you got to grow where you're planted. And because your neighbors are going to be the ones that you can influence, and then the legislators, but you got to get to your neighbors first, because there's something so refreshing about the authenticity of people in recovery.
Yes.
I don't know about where y'all live, but we live down south, right? And there's a lot of, we've got a lot of, well, bless your heart to your face, but then behind your back, well, boy, she was just, God, she's really put on weight, or she's this, or she's that, she's not very nice, or boy, they've really
backstabbing.
Yeah, they hadn't aged well, or whatever. And people in the recovery community, their candor, which we've been accused of having too much of sometimes.
Holy shit, are you kidding me? The more effective you are, the more they hate you, man. I mean, it's fucked up. They got it ass backwards, man.
Yeah, that's, we were talking about that as well.
We've had events in our neighborhood, and our neighbors will say, there's something about you guys. What is it? We can't put our fingers on it. Oh,
we're spiritual, man.
You're just so
genuine,
refreshingly candid. Yes, genuine.
Genuine and authentic, and transparent.
People, yes, and you know, some of us can go a little over the top sometimes, but people find that very appealing. So you can be that refreshing, candid voice in your community. And that in and of itself, I mean, I can bring in some of the top executives in the country into a senator's office, and they're like, and they're checking their phone. And I can bring a recovering person in, and they're like this. They're like leaning in, you know, listening.
Trying to absorb that.
Yes. Now, I've properly trained them not to tell their entire drug log to the senator, but the candidness, the authenticity is a powerful, powerful, powerful tool. Don't let it go to waste, because not everybody's got it. Not everybody's got it. And it is infectious.
You see why I'm so effective at what I do? I got the brains right next to me, baby.
You guys are a dynamic duo for sure.
Well, John hasn't really given you the full story. I don't know. Do we have time?
Yes. Bring it.
My wife used to be a pole dancer in the theater bar. That's how we met.
So, God. So embarrassing. At least tell a story that is like halfway believable. We started McShin because John kept bringing everyone home, and we were running out of sofas. And underneath every sofa, there was like a little makeshift dot kit, like men's toiletry kit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I would usually be in DC Monday through Thursday, and I would reach under the sofa and I would pull up this baggie with a razor and all this stuff. And I would come home. You'd see all these trucks and stuff pulling out as I was like pulling in from DC, because he'd think he'd need to clear the house out. Because I was like, as his daughter, as our daughter was getting older, it was like we need to balance out,
We've always had a recovery house,
Yes, one way or the other. But we were running out of room. The other thing, the way that John started doing jail work was no one was paying him. And
you don't get paid for service work.
No. And we have a jail that's not far from where we live. And it was just such a source of irritation to John that he could not bring recovery support services to a jail that you literally could, like, as he would say, he could hit a 9-iron and hit the jail.
I'm a long ball knocker. It ain't hard to do.
Yeah. He doesn't hit them straight, but he hits them far. So anyway, they were having, how a lot of the police and sheriffs now have these community policing days to try to make, your neighbors and your community feel good about law enforcement. So our little community here, we are in kind of a ex-urban suburbia / rural area, and they were have a community meet your law enforcement and get to know your sheriffs and all that. And John asked if McShin could set up a tent and serve barbecue. And so, McShin's kind of, for your listeners that don't know, we're kind of known for barbecue. We have a big cook-off every year, and John's quite aficionado of smoked meat. We smoke meat, not drugs, and all this stuff. So anyway,
I love it.
We have this tent. He doesn't tell me any of this, right? And John runs, and his team, he has a team that run McShin. I do my thing in Washington. I can't take credit for anything in McShin other than having part of my name in it, helping him get it.
Yeah, don't believe that for a minute. She's
ground.
my technical advisor.
But anyway,
sometimes 12 hours a day.
So more than he wants. So John goes to we have the community day. I forget. I'm traveling somewhere. Anyways, they make barbecue slider sandwiches. The little ones.
Yeah.
So big hit, right? Because it's great barbecue.
Free barbecue, several thousand people.
There's 3,000 people. Okay.
I'll be there this year.
Yeah, but in exchange,
they had to fill out a questionnaire. Do you want lower taxes?
No.
You want increased public safety?
Yes. And in order to get your free sliders, you had to sign a petition saying that you wanted the McShin Foundation to bring free recovery support services into the jail. So they have no idea what they're signing. They just want those sliders.
They knew what they were saying. I explained it to them, man.
Well,
that was on a Saturday. On Monday, they called me from the jail. Hey, you want to come in and do a program?
Yeah. So John was in the jail. He did that on a Saturday. 3,000 people showed up and signed the petition. And he was in that jail delivering free recovery support services that Monday. So that is the kind of, when I talk about the grow where you're planted and get up and do it and be a hope dealer, that's the kind of man that John is. And that's the kind of man anyone listening can be. We're not like extremely bright or smart or like, we just get after it,
You take you're action takers. You're proactive.
We will take action.
Yeah.
You're very inspiring.
Maybe too much sometimes. Some might
love it.
But that's okay.
I feed off this.
But what I'm telling you is that, there's this belief that, well, they've got money or they've got all this experience and this and that. When I met John, he was a damn paint contractor. Okay. He was not.
I'm still a good painter. Like a Marine. I'm still a Marine.
But I mean, he did not know that at a business meeting you were supposed to have an agenda. You follow me? I mean, we were talking from scratch. That was why I was on the McShin Foundation board for one day.
You had enough.
Well, no, we decided it was pretty clear that I could either monkey under the hood of McShin or stay married. So we decided I'd stay out of McShin and we'd stay married. So that's kind of how it's
But
worked.
we did not have near the success we had without this woman. Trust me on
Well,
that,
I
man.
don't know about
So-
all that, but
I do.
we make a good team.
So
That's very apparent. There's a lot of comments. The people are inspired by what you're doing, your beliefs.
They can do it too, though.
that's
we are
right.
not unique. I hear this bullshit all the time. That,
bullshit.
y'all are charismatic and you're unusual and nobody else could copy that. That's just a lie that lazy people tell themselves. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I'm sorry. We are not special. We are not unique. We are flawed as hell. I mean, but we do get after it. But there's sacrifices you make when you do that. You don't hear a house full of kids running around right now. We
got 2 dogs. They locked up right now because they be biting me.
We met playing golf at a 12-step golf tournament. Neither of us have touched a club in years. So
Carol, are you in recovery as well?
I have 21 years of long-term recovery.
Nice.
Yes.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You think I'd be married to John Shinholser?
I don't know. He's a pretty charming man. I don't know.
Hey, you got to have a good program to be married to me. That's for sure, man.
John met me when I was in the middle of a massive relapse and saved my life. So yes,
It's a longer story than that. I
It
didn't know she was relapsing. She lied to me, man. So I fell in love with the woman that was lying to me, man. So.
Yeah, and then he has this awful thing that he says that I lie for a living, which I don't.
He's a lobbyist. It's a fucking job, man.
That's 60 years of sobriety between you.
Close.
You know what her mother said when she quit law school and become a lobbyist? She said, kill Ann. That's like a streetwalker.
Oh.
I didn't quit law school. I hadn't started yet, but I had gotten accepted, and I decided that no, I'd go into lobbying because it was easier. And you got a American Express card, and back in those days, you took congressional stuff out to drink and party every night. And I thought, this is the job.
This is the job for me, huh?
Yes, I've died and gone to heaven. Yes.
You get paid to bribe politicians, man. You get drunk and fucked up in the meantime.
We do not bribe anybody. That is false, false, false.
I know, fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news.
You couldn't buy a vote if you wanted to.
Todd, Widows, could you please put up the McShin website again? Someone is asking about it.
MCSHIN McShin.org.
He's the
okay. www.McShin.org, right?
Yeah.
There you go, guys. Check it out. I'm going to
yours
put
up.
He's up on. He's up.
That
is his. Yeah, we're on his fucking site, man.
Okay, well, I don't know.
She's not a social media.
No,
expert.
I'm not. Privacy freak.
That right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That'll work.
There you go.
And just in case anybody's feeling, charitable, we took an 80% slide in contributions in the last month or so. So feel free to go to our homepage or our Facebook page, and maybe for a couple packs of cigarettes a month, make us a donation or something. We need I got 122 people with half of them lost their jobs in the last couple of weeks, and we're not going to exit nobody out who can't afford their bed fee. So we're in this for the long haul with our people. We ain't gonna leave no wounded on the battlefield.
No.
You know what I mean?
No addicts left behind, right?
No addicts left behind, and whatever we got to do, it's
We're also a good recovery center. If you're gonna spend a lot of money sending somebody off to rehab, you can send them to McShin. If you want them to have a reality experience, you can send them there. We got very small, payer mix fees and whatnot. know.
I find too that when I am the most like uptight about money, like my business is to shit.
Way off too, you
To
know.
shit
So.
too. I've been very, very fortunate, and not many people get to do good and do well at it at the same time. And I've had a wonderful career. It's in the toilet right now because every single lobby day in America has been canceled. But I find when I write a small check, when I'm feeling the most uptight about money, like something will happen, and it might just be something silly like, oh, you overpaid some bill and you'll get a check in the mail. But when I'm feeling the most, nervous about money, and I will give a little something like today, a 12-step program that I participate in asked for a monthly donation for the number of years clean that I had, a number of years in recovery that I had. Sorry for the language. And I did it. And I wrote, another check to my brother's, charity because he had given to McShin. And I got, a client hired me today. So
They hired you?
They did.
Oh, that's cool.
Came
Yeah.
through tonight.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful.
you just.
But just for the record, we must not be hurting that bad because the UPS guy's still rolling up in here every day, man.
No, he is
The
not.
packages ain't quite as big.
From
You guys get that food shit from today to Harvest Mint.
That's
from
his
Amazon.
back.
I already
So-
put it in the freezer.
So Elder Denny Wilson would like to give a couple of his F heroin books away. So if between you two, if you would pick a number and inbox me your selection. I posted this earlier, Denny. There are some people that posted their number picks in the comments up there in the comments. So if anybody watching would like to have Denny send you a copy. Yeah,
How's old Denny doing? I see Denny popping up on there, man. Denny, give you a little shout out, man. I hope you're doing all right, my brother. Staying out of trouble.
You wrote the foreword for his book.
Did I? Goddamn, I wrote it.
Or you gave him a quote. Yeah.
You get what you get when you do what you do.
Absolutely. If you pick a number between 1 and 50, we'll keep it short and sweet.
Me or them?
You keep it in your head, and you let me know what it is in Messenger, and we'll
pick. I can't remember shit, man. I gotta write it down.
No, you do what you got to do.
All right, that's one number.
We need two numbers.
Yeah, between what?
1 and 50.
1 and 50.
Mm-hmm.
Carol will keep two between 1 and 50.
Yes.
All right, I'll tell you what. In case your people were listening, I'll even give them a clue. What her years in recovery is and my years in recovery. There's the two numbers I'm going to pick. Y'all might have to give away more than fucking 2 books if they were listening.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I hope y'all were paying attention. You get a free book and some other stuff from Denny Wilson.
He's picking up our Southern accent. Listen to him.
Oh, yeah. Don't take it.
Yeah. Too. No, you are.
What do you mean? I'm talking like John Shinholser right now.
I see Sarah Scarborough popped up from Real Life on there. Another one of my colleagues.
Richmond local.
Yep.
There were a couple comments from some parents that lost their children, and I want to send them condolences. I mean, it's such a tragic, unnecessary loss. I'm so sorry.
We talked to a mom yesterday. We stay in touch. Her son passed away in the last year, and it just breaks our heart every time we be around and talk to these folks, man. And that's the worst thing I think that can happen is lose your loved one to a preventable illness. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, people ask me all the time, why you do this day in and day out? You don't need to do that. I said, are you kidding me? What we do matters. What we do counts. I can't help the ones that passed away. But God damn it, if I can prevent somebody from passing away in the future, that's my purpose in life. And I'm being serious right now.
It's your passion. It's your calling. You have to do that.
Yep, it is his calling.
And if you got to be assertive and coarse and aggressive, by God, it matters. Because being nice don't get you nowhere.
No, not at all.
Sometimes
it does.
Well, getting around here on occasion, but you got to know what you're working with. So.
Absolutely. You know, you got to pick and choose your timing
You
on these
do.
things.
You definitely
To
do.
be assertive, be aggressive when needed, and just be true and honest. You know, shared experience is the best tool.
Well, for people tuning in late, I just want to do a little recap, a brief recap. It's important that we get smarter on these policies. We got to influence the decision makers. We have to get in the hearts of these people. We have to start looking into the Portugal model and take the good stuff from and do that Portugal flip here in America. Nothing wrong with reducing our correction capacity by 50%. Nothing wrong with decreasing our overdose death by 80%. Nothing wrong with reducing the impact addiction has in our community by 40%. Treat it like other illnesses. By God,
Absolutely.
People are fired up to reduce these other illnesses and the troubles they're causing us. We need to do it for addiction too. You know, the time is here. You know, what kind of nation are we?
The time is now. The time is now. You know,
and we are a constituency of consequence. We are 25 million, 26 million.
Not only that,
strong.
look, do the math. 22 million in recovery, 22 million need recovery. That's 44 million. They probably got 2, 3, 4 loved ones. We're up to 100 million Americans that got to care about this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you telling me, you know, what is it? I think the NRA only has, 5 million people or whatever. We got 100 million people. Hell, we should own policies by now. Something's wrong with us.
But it's using that power, that authenticity, that genuineness we have to touch hearts and minds.
That's right.
And it can be done. But sometimes we have to do it one person at a time.
Yes, absolutely.
And that it's time consuming sometimes, but pick your person. Pick one person.
Create that ripple effect, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, we need more than ripple. We need a goddamn tsunami, man.
We need a tidal wave for
sure.
For sure.
But it all starts with a ripple, though.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with a ripple. And you pick that one person who is a thought leader in your community, you'd be amazed at what can happen.
That's right.
And a thought leader can be, it can be the deacon at your church. It can be your local banker. It can be that kind of busybody mom in the neighborhood that kind of chit-chats with everybody. It doesn't have to be the president. You know what I mean? You can make a difference. You grow where you're planted.
So powerful.
That God gave you. And if you don't know it, you are already a member of a constituency of consequence. We just have to decide whether we want to join together, lock arms, and use that consequence that we are, that constituency.
Put your ego aside.
That's right.
And work together.
Have to agree on everything. Me and him, we fight like cats and dogs sometimes. Y'all heard us.
I ain't fully surrendered yet, man.
What about getting our people registered to vote and getting them to the polls? Surrendered.
I will, if you will allow me to, I can send you a link where if people are not registered to vote, they can do that both in our state and in other states.
Absolutely, I'm all for it. I want
post that if John sends that to you.
Sure, I'll post that everywhere and put it on my website. And
super important because again, if you don't vote,
you got no voice.
You get the laws that you deserve. I'm sorry.
Ow, I like that.
If you don't vote, if you don't get out there and exercise your right, because remember, you can vote early, you can vote absentee ballot, you can show up at the polls. There's so many ways you can vote now.
Everybody has a voice, and they should use it, right?
Yes.
Hey, let me give a plug on something else. Freedom of press. Number one, we got to support the press, okay? But number two, the press will react to editorials and they'll react to real stories, okay? So we have got to get out there and be that face and voice of recovery, support the press so they'll support us, and let's change our systems, because if you look historically throughout the course of American history, the press is always on the fucked up side, it seems like, But as time goes by, eventually they come over to the real shit. So we got to get the press involved and keep them engaged, man. Support the press, man.
And
You
I
know,
think one of the things that John's referring to, so if, for example, you were a family of loss and you feel so moved, I cannot tell you how your stories have such an impact
That's why I do this platform.
on policymakers.
Yeah.
They really.
But goddamn it, we don't need more drug laws. We need less drug laws.
No, but what
okay?
I'm saying is, if they write a letter to the editor, that's what you mean when you say
I know, but
editorial.
sometimes they take it wrong. They think, "Oh, we need tougher drug laws." No,
Well-
we fucking don't.
Well, they need to go through their grief like they need to go through it. But your letters oftentimes get printed, is what I'm suggesting. Your messages get heard. Your stories, unfortunately, they're so sad that they're sensational, and we live in a world in the media on every platform that's about clicks, 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 clicks.
Yeah.
And these very hard stories draw those clicks, draw that interest, draw those readers in, and then draw in that ad revenue. So when and if you feel like you can tell that story, know that you will be using that story in such a positive way to make a difference in whatever way feels right to you. I can't tell you what that might look like for you and your family.
You're good.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah, it's very powerful. It's I've seen it change policymakers' minds in an instant.
Policymakers.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people we need to get their attention, right?
Some of the litigation that's going on in our country right now is being impacted by families of loss. So don't think that all of your loss is in vain, because you are making a difference right now, and I've seen it.
They're getting ready to have a huge opioid, big pharma lawsuit settlements coming. And, back in 07 and 08, when they did that first round of Purdue Pharma lawsuit settlements, people can Google this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Virginia got, for example, $50 million. Don't quote me on the exact number. I don't think they spent one goddamn penny on recovery. All that money went to state agencies, state police, all kinds of stuff. I'm not saying they didn't need the money, but good Lord, could you not have carved out a little bit for some sober living and detox? I mean,
absolutely.
And we're faced with this big money grab coming again. And people say it's going to recovery. Bullshit. It's going to some fucking state agency or local agency that they don't care about 40% reduction in the impact. They might say they do, but the proof's in the pudding, So I think we need to be thinking of this shit. We got a couple months to be thinking of some good battle plans moving forward in America with our addiction epidemic. You know what I mean? So
yes.
A couple months go by, if we don't come out swinging, lined up, we're going to be in a bigger clusterfuck than we went into it.
And with data and facts, you can't just kind of go in there gunslinging.
We got data, we got evidence.
I know, we do. We do.
So,
Denny says Ohio is getting $64 million. Pretty sure it's already earmarked.
Oh, Denny, I guarantee it's earmarked, and I can tell you where 63.900.9 is probably going. It ain't going to go to actual authentic recovery community service provider. I doubt very seriously. I could be wrong,
There's
but
a couple of them. But
I doubt it. I'd like to see who got what on that one.
Yeah.
So much bureaucratic bullshit too. Use the goddamn coronavirus model for the addiction model moving forward. Stop with the bullshit policy. Get the money where it does the most good. Use the evidence and the data where you get the best return on your money. And if 20% of all these funds don't get down to the authentic recovery support service providers, something's wrong.
Absolutely.
Well, and when we're organized, they will.
What about a governing, I think you touched on it earlier, like a governing body to oversee sober living homes, to make sure they're not trap houses, or just money makers where they're putting their clients at risk.
Yeah, different states are creating pretty cool things. Virginia's got the Virginia Association of Recovery Residents that have percolated up, and
we have FAR down here, the Florida Association.
FAR got mixed reviews from what I hear.
Yes.
Virginia, I'm telling you, Florida is a special state for bullshit because of the Florida shuffle that took place.
Yeah, it's a high, densely populated treatment and recovery community down here.
But in general, most states now, because of a federal law, are setting up certifying entities for recovery residences. And many of them are modeled after the National Association of Recovery Residences.
National Alliance.
Yes, some are not, but
NAR.
Yep,
Jenny says NAR.
Yep, NAR, and I forget what the acronym stands for.
Yeah, National Alliance of Recovery Residents.
And those are that governing body to make sure that those recovery houses don't turn into flop houses.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
I mean, those are so dangerous, and
they are.
Most of the residents in Ohio are left to govern their own. There's no structure. People are just collecting rent and just allowing them to do whatever, and that's not the purpose of a recovery home.
Quality control will always, cream will rise to the top. And the minute you start throwing a little reimbursement money at these sober homes coming from agencies, the cream will rise to the top. That's the purpose of, that little bit of oversight you might get from to be an affiliate of NAR. So most of the NAR affiliates nationwide, they're incredible organizations. They do great work. It's just those handful of states that had the fraud that really existed before the regulations came along.
Yeah, and you know what? Turn them in.
Turn them in.
Yeah, turn them in.
I agree. Who does somebody turn? I mean, who would be the agency? Somebody
would a snitch if you turn in somebody that's taking advantage of people.
I think the state attorney general's office is a good starting point.
The attorney general, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think they turned it around down in Florida, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and DeWine, I think DeWine in your state is very aware. In Ohio is very.
But don't overdo it. Don't throw the baby out with the goddamn bathwater. You know what I mean? Sometimes these agencies get involved and they fuck it up. They try to do good, but they end up doing more damage than was done in the first place. So
you want to have regulations, but you don't want to cut your capacity in half, right? Because then then you got a bunch of homeless people.
We just want them to raise their standards,
exactly.
Standards of care. We don't want them to go away. We just want them to, keep people safe, put some structure in place so it adds value to somebody's life and their recovery.
Yeah, and I think if you look at those NAR standards and you basically say that, hey, if you want to have a respectable house in this area or this region or this state, these are the standards that your house should be run by.
NAR's a simple organization, simple standards.
Their standards are on their website. You can download them for free.
We need to hold these places accountable, because just like people in recovery need to be accountable, so do the business owners that are providing these services.
Well,
absolutely.
That's another reason why you got the CAPRS accreditation, the Council on Accrediting Recovery Support Service Providers, a national accrediting body. There's only 19 of us in the nation. McShin was one of the first nationally accredited recovery community organizations in America. So there are ways to up your game a little bit on quality and whatnot.
And accountability, yes. And there's more coming up, CAPRS accredited every day, but yeah.
So you got NAR standards, CAPRS accreditation. I mean, there's a lot of good shit out there.
This has been very informative. I'm so glad you guys took the time to jump on here. I know you guys have really busy schedules. And there's a lot going on.
Ain't no moss growing on our shoes, man. That's
It's really nice to meet you. I couldn't
Nice to
remember
meet
if tonight. I was thinking that John's doing one in Spain or something tomorrow
that's
night.
tomorrow night.
I couldn't figure out, but I'm so glad I snuck
Thank
in.
you.
I snuck in to this one tonight,
Yeah.
and sorry for worming my way into.
No, I'm so glad you added so much value to this, and it's good to
added
see
value. You can expect that out of McShin. Added value, man.
you.
Yeah, right.
That's
So,
why we got-
John, let me ask you this: Are you open to having somebody come up and shadow you for a few days? Because I would love to see
Look,
you know,
you
how you.
shit, man, I get people up here all the time. They come from all over the world to hang out at McShin and see what we do. Of course, you're invited. By
Thank
the time
you.
you get here, we might have some PPE equipment for you too. You know,
I have to bring my own.
mask and gloves and shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't come yet. Don't
Hey.
come yet.
You can come.
No.
You're welcome to come up and do this broadcast up there, and we'll get you a bunch of participants and shit involved,
Yeah.
man. We
Absolutely, I would love to do that.
spend the week at McShin, change the world.
There you go.
Yep.
At least my portion of it. That's my goal.
That's right.
Yep.
To create that ripple effect.
And also, if you're like John, you got to always drive and put some newcomers in the car and get some windshield time with them and drive out here.
Yes, ma'am.
I see Portugal. I see the Portugal flip. Don't be confused with the Chicago U-turn. What the fuck does that mean?
That's a Jenny Wilson joke, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I got you. Shit.
It says Chicano U-turn.
Oh,
What-
Chicano U-turn. I got you.
I have no idea what that is.
I can't fucking read either, apparently.
Sometimes we need a translator with Denny.
Yeah.
Same
I
with
love
John.
Now you make if you come up here and stick around a while, you're gonna learn to say motherfucker with a nice southern drawl.
Motherfucker.
He's got it pretty well.
He's
I got it down. I can do it. Don't you worry about me. I'll be all right. I'll be right there with you.
I'll be right
there with you.
You're from
Oh, yeah.
Ohio, man. That's a thug fucking accent. That ain't no
No,
fucking
that's- Teach him how to talk.
Is there anything you would like to say in closing, John?
Look,
About
man,
an hour and a half in.
yeah, look, just out of seriousness, everybody, please, man, listen to the shit going on about this virus, okay? This is serious business. Take it serious. Listen to what these professionals are saying with the social distances, wash your hands, cover, get them masks if you can get them. But this
Wash
shit's
your
gonna
hands.
it's gonna get worse before it gets better, okay?
Mhm.
So we are in crisis, okay? I'm just trying to get people, while you're in crisis staying at home, get educated about the Portugal flip, get educated about changing our national policy, get educated on, writing those editorials, get involved because you can do it because it's up to us to do it.
Get registered to vote.
All that
Be
shit.
proactive.
And
Be
now,
proactive.
now's the time to do your homework, okay? Because
Yes.
when we get back to normal in 6 months, we're just going to be too busy trying to make up for lost everything. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I was going to ask that earlier. What do you when this finally the dust settles from all of this? What do you see the treatment industry looking like? With the influx of everything.
It'll probably be inundated, but it'll probably be diminished reimbursable services too. Because remember, we got a big national crisis bill we're all going to have to pay. So there may be less opportunity out there for funding for recovery and treatment and things of that nature. So we just got to make sure we're front and center with policies. Now that we got a national crisis model for illnesses, we need to learn from that for addiction moving forward. So
I think we're going to have to go back to basics. Depend upon the fellowships and the peer support specialists. Fuck, I love.
I do think that telehealth is going
I had
to
a
be
phone
here to
call.
stay, though.
yeah, telehealth is going to
I
skyrocket.
think telehealth will be here to stay as a result of this.
Media social connectedness is going to get
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
The Zoom business, I wish I'd have bought stock in Zoom if that was such a thing to buy stock in. But I think There's going to be some good nuggets. It's going to be good, you know. But the sad truth is, we're going to lose a lot of people. You know, we're going to have less fucking soldiers at the end of this. So the young ones that are healthy, they got to listen to this shit, man. You know, get in the goddamn fucking space, man, and fight for your life like it depends on it, because it does.
It does. It
does.
Yeah.
And your neighbors.
And if not us, who?
That's I can't say that enough. And support the ones that are in the space, you know. If you like what you hear here tonight, you want to see a Portugal flip, pay attention and support it. You know what I'm saying? You know, because there's a lot of people around the country, they want to take charge and lead, you know, but don't be splintered, though. The closer to the top you get, the more splintering that takes place. Stop that shit. Stay unified. Stay aligned. Stay on point.
And I think there was a famous quote. Was it Roosevelt that said about the guy in the arena?
That was Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt. You know, had this great quote.
The man in the arena.
The man or the woman in the arena, who was all dusty and tattered from having been in there fighting a good fight. You know, don't sit back in the stands and throw mud and cups and dirt and nasty words at them. Get in the game, get in the arena and fight with us. Yeah, are we going to make mistakes and look ugly and show our ass along the way? Probably so sometimes. But don't sit back, do nothing, sit on your hands, and then write little nasty Facebook nastygrams.
Absolutely. That's the act of a coward.
Yeah.
Get in the arena.
Don't fuck with the best weapons we got in this space. God damn it, you support those weapons, man. You see through them weapons stay active and fucking potent.
Well, you are the weapon.
God damn it, you a weapon too now.
Well, we are.
Biggie's a weapon, man. We're all
everybody
weapons.
Listens a weapon.
We weaponize in recovery, God damn
it. There you go.
Weaponize recovery. We're going to flatten the curve. We're going to get shit done.
And we're going to be recovery warriors.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, well, I appreciate you having us on here. I'm so glad my wife nuzzled up next to me. This is family night at my house tonight, man.
I'm glad to be.
We talked together in 3 weeks, man.
I don't think we.
I'm so glad to be a part of this and witness this.
It's a family reunion.
Yeah.
Who's this girl next to me?
Yeah, who are you? Let me introduce myself. Yeah, we never get to spend time together, so it's great. Thank you.
I love you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Please check out the McShin Foundation Facebook page. There's also a website. If you're able to donate, it will definitely go to a good and worthy cause. If you need treatment resources during this time, and you're local to that area because travel is going to be restricted with all the stay-at-home orders, please reach out and let me know. I'll direct and guide you to the McShin Foundation and John and Carol. We're still here fighting, still doing the deal. I want to thank everyone that showed up for this live, that shared it, all the love in the comments. I see you guys. That's where the real miracle happens, is in the comments, when people showing love. And if you didn't get a chance, put your answers for the book. Denny Wilson's going to send out some books. There are two numbers that were selected, and they were the length of sobriety for Carol and John. So if you remember those numbers, put them in the comments, and Jenny will get you a book. Thank you, John. It's such a pleasure. I'm going to get you back on here in a week or so. We're going to talk about recovery peer support, I think.
I'm a fucking expert.
I know you are. Thank you, guys. I love you all. Thank you for being here. It's been a great show. Peace out.
Peace.